You guys are great. Well, it's so good to be here with you. Am I on and working? Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And really grateful just to be here, like actually to make it. So really grateful to Lucas and Jonah for coming and getting me and things. So and things don't always go to plan, do they? And life doesn't always go to plan. And we see different things that go on in our own lives and around the world, which isn't the plan that we would intend. You know, things, I'm sure you're all aware of different stuff in the news that's gone on through this last week and things. And, you know, things don't always go as you'd think they should, do they? You know, we've seen kind of riots and protests and violence, you know, as close to home as Plymouth. And that makes it seem pretty close, doesn't it? And, seeing streets that you're familiar with and you walk down, not knowing if or when it will happen again. You know, and then it's not just kind of in those kind of things around our own nation, when you think further afield and to that kind of wider sense of things and to beyond what the state of our country is, you know, you see around the world there's war that still carries on in numerous places. There's corruption, there's hatred, and so many things which are not the way that we would want them to be. And I don't know about you, but that's really what something in my heart kind of ends up crying out. Something in my heart cries out, this is wrong. It shouldn't be this way. And actually, it's not just when it comes to the big things, is it? It can be, sometimes we look at the big things and, they can seem distant and detached, and we feel like it's wrong, but it's kind of out there. You can have that same feeling with things that are closer to home. Whether it's little things like, cars breaking down when you're on your way to try and share God's word, it shouldn't happen. Or whether it's more serious things like another loved person who's been diagnosed with cancer, and you're having to walk with them on that journey. Or it's a friend's child that's getting bullied at school. Whatever it might be, there is so much in this world, so many ways, so many things that we can look at, things that I've walked through in my life or that I've walked through with others, and something inside cries out, this is wrong. It shouldn't be this way. Anyone ever had that kind of feeling rise up? And sometimes people take that feeling, sometimes people look at these kind of things that go on around the world and the things that they can walk through in life. They look at all of the suffering and all of the brokenness in our world and the things that they've been through, and they say, if all of this is going on, how can there be a God? At least how can there be a God who loves us and cares for us like you say there is? That's a big question, isn't it? If you're a follower of Jesus, and I imagine it's a question that you've been asked at some point. And whether you follow Jesus or not, I imagine it's a question that you've wrestled with at some point. And there's so much that we could say, but one of the things that I found helpful is something that C.S. Lewis once said. C.S. Lewis is the author of the Chronicles of Narnia, and as he was wrestling with this question in response to the feeling inside that the world shouldn't be this way, this longing that we have for things to be different, this is what C.S. Lewis said. He said this. He said, if I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, if I'm longing for things to be different and there's no way for them to be different, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world. Try to get hold of this. C.S. Lewis is saying, if I have this longing, this ache within me for something more, if I look at the world and have this sense that it shouldn't be this way, he asks the question, well, why? Why do I feel like that? Why do I have that reaction? If this world with all of its brokenness and is all that there's ever been and all that ever will be, then it doesn't make any sense for me to feel like this is wrong, because it's just the way it is. The only explanation is that I was made for another world. Do you know, as we look at the Bible, that is exactly what we find. And we discover, that it's only when we understand the world that we're in, the life that we're living with all of its messiness and its brokenness and its pain, In light of that truth, in light of that, the sense of the bigger picture, in light of eternity, in light of, as we were singing about that kind of, the place that we long to be, that we imagine where one day everything will be different. It's only when we face this world and we live this life in light of that we kind of start to make sense of things, and we find hope and meaning and purpose in the midst of the brokenness, in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the times when things don't go to plan. So that's what I want us to be exploring a little bit today together, is we're going to be exploring something of the world that we are made for, something of heaven. And you've just been singing, I can only imagine, and stirring our imagination, I think, is a great place to start when we think of heaven. And I wonder what you might think of, what things would come to mind for you. And if we're honest, I think often we kind of have a bit of a vague kind of idea. And we can struggle to imagine too much in terms of detail. We know it's going to be good, but we don't know much more, and we don't talk about it a lot. And the problem is that when we don't talk about it a lot, what happens is that it's so easy for our understanding of heaven to be shaped by the world that we're in far more than it's shaped by the Bible that we read. And what happens then is that we're left with images like this one. Images of fluffy white clouds and chubby angels that sit around on them, kind of strumming a harp, and once or twice a day they get to take a break from that to have choir practice. And if that's our image of heaven, then there's not a great deal to look forward to, is there? And it's no wonder that he then wishes he'd brought a magazine with him. It's an idea of heaven that actually makes us want to cling to this life. To have all the fun that we can have here. To feel like if we're robbed of the good in this life, then that's the worst thing possible, because the life to come, we're not going to have an opportunity for that again. Because this life is what matters most, and eternity looks pretty boring. The Bible, though, gives us a very different picture, a very different kind of image. And the better that we understand heaven, the better that we understand the world that's to come, the more equipped we are for the world that we're in. And to help us build this bit of a picture of heaven, we're going to look at something that John writes in the letter of in the book of Revelation, as he points us towards the life that's to come. So we've got a couple of passages we'll look at. The first one's this, in Revelation 21. This is what we read. It says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.' He who was seated on the throne said, 'I am making everything new.' Then he said, 'Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true.'" First thing that I want you to take away from these verses is very simply this: heaven is better. It's better than the world that we see in every way. When John says he saw a new heaven and a new earth, the word that he uses for new would probably be better understood as kind of restored or remade. And this means that what we're looking forward to isn't kind of fluffy clouds in the sky, this kind of completely detached, ethereal, kind of spiritual place. What we're looking forward to is what we know of this world made right. Jesus is always our example. The one that we look to, the one who sets the example of the hope that we have and the hope that we have for eternity. And what we see with Jesus is that he still had a body after his resurrection. That people recognized him, that he ate food. There was a sense of continuity with the past. But at the same time, his body was different. He could appear and disappear at will in different places. And so the hope that we have is that one day God is going to do for you and for me and for the whole of creation what he's already done for Jesus. In other words, the new heaven and the new earth are everything that we love about this earth without the curse of sin. Without the brokenness and the suffering and everything that makes us cry out, it shouldn't be this way. It's God taking the earth and restoring and remaking it so that the beauty of creation is multiplied, so that the pleasure we experience is increased and the limitations we have removed. Picture the most beautiful place you've ever seen. This is a picture from Hawaii, but for me, I would picture probably on our honeymoon, Rosie and I, we went to Lake Garda, and just picture wherever the most beautiful places that you've been. Now get this, and it's a hard thing to get your head around, but the beauty that you see right now is only the fallen, cursed version of God's creation. Imagine for a moment what his restored and remade and perfected creation will look like. Or if you're like me, you're a food person. Think of your favorite meal or your favorite food. I love sticky toffee pudding. Anyone else a sticky toffee pudding fan? You can't beat a good sticky toffee pudding. So then start to imagine what a glorified, perfected sticky toffee pudding might taste like. That's something to get excited about, isn't it? And when we get this, when we start to realize this, we realize that we never need to fear missing out. You know, so often that's one of the things, isn't it? We talk about FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, well, I want to have these experiences or get to do this, or what if I never get to have that relationship, or what if I never get to go to that place, or whatever it might be. We live with that fear of missing out. I don't get to visit that place and miss my moment. You never have to feel like your best years are behind you, or like you're being robbed of enjoying life by health struggles, because the best is yet to come. Heaven is better. In heaven, you will get to do and experience things that are beyond anything this world has to offer. You'll get to go to those places that you wish you could visit, and they will look so much more glorified than they do right now. After telling us then about the new heaven and the new earth, John goes on to say God's dwelling place is now with his people. We'll see God face to face. And I love this because one of the things that this means is that in heaven you will be fully known and you will fully know. That this longing for connection, to love and be loved, to be accepted, this sense of where you fit will finally be satisfied in a way that nothing on this earth can. You see, when it comes to our hope of heaven, who we are with matters far more than what we will do. We see that even in this life, don't we? One of the random things that I really enjoy is roller coasters and theme parks. Anyone else a roller coaster fan? One or two, not many, but one or two. Right, let's go on holiday together. We'll have fun. But we've done quite a few theme park trips as a family over the years, and we always have an amazing time. And yeah, it's great, and as the kids get older, it just gets better. But a year or so ago, I had to travel for a conference on my own to Orlando. It's a hard life, isn't it, being a pastor? And but it was over in Orlando. To be honest, it wasn't that kind of fancy. It was literally arrive in the airport, get a taxi to a conference center, and stay in a conference center for a week. We could have been anywhere in the world. It didn't really matter. But on the day that we were due to fly out, my flight wasn't until the end of the day, and I was in Orlando. It's kind of the home of theme parks. So I decided I'm going to make the most. I want to seize the opportunity, and so I took myself off and I went to a theme park for the day on me Todd, the only time I've ever done that. And it was an amazing experience and got to do some things that I love doing, and yet at the same time somehow, because I was on my own, it felt empty. And so as amazing as the new heaven and the new earth will be, our real joy will come not from what we get to do, but from who we get to be with. And the promise that we get throughout the Bible is that heaven is where God and his people are united together. We will know and be known. We will love and be loved. We will be face to face with God himself, like we were singing earlier. Do you know, this is going to be so amazing. In Paul's letters, the greatest sense of hope and anticipation that you pick up on in numerous places, as he's kind of looking forwards to things, of what it is that helps him to keep going in the midst of the pains and the challenges that he faces in life, is who it is that he's going to get to be with. This is what he says in Philippians 1 verse 23. He says, I desire to depart and what? Get to be in paradise? No, get to be with Christ, which is better by far. Jesus is what Paul valued most. To be with Jesus, to see his glory, to know his love, and to be able to see him face to face. That was his greatest hope. Paul understood that being with Jesus in that way was better than any kind of experience or success or popularity or whatever we could have on this earth. It was better than any connection with another person. Do you know, if you ever feel lonely, I think we all feel lonely sometimes, but if you ever feel lonely or like nobody really understands you or gets you, like you don't quite fit in, all of that comes for a longing for connection that this world cannot satisfy, because we are made for another world. Because God made you for connection with him that will only be fully satisfied in heaven. So heaven is better. In heaven you will fully know and you will be fully known. And then in heaven you will be completely free. We get this amazing statement in verse 4 where John writes, he will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. You know, what we learn about heaven in this verse is that everything that is wrong with our world will pass away. All the things that you look at and you kind of say, it shouldn't be this way, this is wrong, they'll be gone. There'll be no more disease or chronic illness or aching joints. No more depression or anxiety or fear. No worrying about what people think of you and that sense of crippling insecurities. No misunderstandings or arguments with people because you're both kind of reacting to each other and don't really get where each other are coming from. No more funerals or separations. No more division or violence or hatred. No selfishness or corruption. You see, when we give our lives to Jesus, in an instant we receive salvation in the most wonderful, amazing way. We receive forgiveness. We're washed clean, we're made new, we're given a new identity, we get relationship with God. In an instant, we're set free from kind of guilt and shame and condemnation. We're set free from the power of sin. We're not trapped under it or slaves to it. He empowers us to live for him. It's an amazing thing. If you're here and you've never responded to Jesus, it's the best decision you could ever make. It's not just about the hope that we have for eternity. It's about the way that he transforms our lives in the here and now. But you see, what we experience in the here and now is only like the appetizer before the main meal. Because in heaven, for each one of us, we'll not only, each one of us who follow Jesus, we will experience complete freedom. You see, we'll not only experience this sense of a freedom from condemnation, a freedom from the power of sin, but we will experience a freedom from the presence and the pain of sin. Because let's be real, we still live in the midst of that, don't we? Where we experience a freedom from the brokenness that sin causes in our lives and in our world. The internal battle with temptation, that battle with our own selfishness and attitudes will cease. And with that will come an experience of peace and freedom like you have never known before. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty amazing to me. To not only be in a place that is better, to not only be with the person who is best, but to internally be at peace. To have all of that settled and dealt with. If it stops there, though, what I think we end up stopping with, and I think so often where we do stop as we imagine heaven and we think about heaven, is heaven almost becomes like the most amazing, perfect holiday you can think of. And I love a good holiday. But there comes a point on a holiday where something in me starts to feel unsettled. Where something in me starts to feel like there needs to be more than this. Because there is something in me and there is something in every single one of us that is wired for purpose. And when we're on holiday, we don't have a lot of purpose. Or at least it's limited. It's kind of, it's fun, it's nice, but it needs something bigger. And I want you to know that heaven is full of purpose. This is what we read in Revelation 22. It says, no longer will there be any curse. So that means we'll be completely free. The throne of God and of the Lamb will be in the city. God will be with us, will be fully known and fully know. And his servants will serve him. They will see his face and his name will be on their foreheads. There will be no more night. They will not need the light of a lamp or the light of the sun, for the Lord God will give them light, and they will reign forever and ever. I don't know if you caught it, but John tells us we'll have purpose at least two ways in those verses. He says that God's servants will serve him and that they will reign forever and ever. If we're going to serve, then that means that God has work for you to do. We're going to be busy. You see, work isn't something that we do because we're in a fallen, broken world. Work is something that God designed you and me for. He designed us for purpose. And right now, work can feel like a struggle, and it can be frustrating, and it can be the last thing that we want to do. But work in heaven, there'll no longer be any of that, any curse over work. There won't be that struggle and toil. Work will be fulfillment and joy and sense of purpose and satisfaction and meaning and accomplishment. And part of our work is that we will reign forever and ever. And this was part of God's original purpose for us as people. He designed us to rule and reign over creation. And that's going to be part of the purpose that we're still going to have in heaven. And you know what? I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but we can only imagine and stir ourselves to imagine the fact that it means that every day we get to wake up excited because we've got a purpose. We can wake up excited because God's got something for us to do, a way that we can kind of nurture things and kind of develop things in a way that kind of matches in with the gifts that he's given us, that the way that he's wired you now, the gifts and abilities he's given you, they're not going to be lost when you go to heaven because all anyone's ever going to do is sing. He's given you gifts and abilities that will be glorified and perfected for you to play your part in heaven in serving and ruling and reigning. As you worship him through doing that. God knows exactly how he's made you and what it is that he's designed you for. What it is that will bring you joy and satisfaction and leave you feeling excited for each day, for the rest of eternity, as to what it is that you can achieve. And when we get hold of this, it sets us free from chasing things like significance and success in this world, feeling like I've got to kind of find my meaning here. Because we know that what God has in store for us is far greater than anything this world can offer. I don't know about you, I can find it so easy. I can find it so easy to get caught up in this life. the things that I'm facing, how I'm feeling, the worries that are there in the background, what it is that's going on around the world when you turn on the news, the latest film to watch, or, place I want to go and visit, next roller coaster to ride, all these different things. No, not bad things. Often things that God has given me to enjoy. But if I'm not careful in the midst of that, I can lose perspective. This life can so easily become all-consuming. And then we forget that greater reality of heaven and eternity. That actually is what helps us make sense of it. Now, if in the midst of a broken world, we want to be those who know peace and hope. And even more than that, if in the midst of the broken world, we want to be those who are able to share peace and hope, bring peace and hope into situations, into our communities, into the lives of the people around us, then we need to keep reminding ourselves about heaven. Because our vision of heaven is what enables us to live differently. To have hope in the midst of hard times. To invest our lives through the choices and decisions that we make in what really matters. Again, C.S. Lewis, gotta love Lewis, he expresses this so well when he says this. If you read history, you will find that the Christians who did the most for the present world were just those who thought most of the next. The apostles themselves who set on foot the conversion of the Roman Empire, the great men who built up the Middle Ages, the English evangelicals who abolished the slave trade, all left their mark on earth, precisely because their minds were occupied with heaven. It is since Christians have largely ceased to think of the other world that they have become so ineffective in this. Aim at heaven, and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth, and you will get neither. So what are you aiming for? What are you living for? What shapes the decisions that you make, or the way that you choose to use your time? Is your vision of heaven big enough to equip you to make the most of this life? To make a difference in our broken world? To run towards hardship rather than hide from it? I believe today God is wanting to open our eyes to see this life for what it really is. To see that this life is short and we have eternity to look forward to. In a way that frees us from fear, enables us to be bold and courageous, helps us to know joy, even in the midst of challenges, to be able to sing in prison. But also to know that while this life is short, we have an amazing opportunity every day with the choices that we make here and now to have an eternal impact. Now, if you're here today and you know Jesus and you follow Jesus, heaven is the hope that you have. And if you're here today and you don't know Jesus, then I want to encourage you that heaven is the hope that's available. And I want to finish just by reading a verse that comes a little bit later in Revelation 22, where we were a moment ago. And I believe this is God's invitation to you. It's verse 17. It says this: the Spirit and the bride, that's God himself, say, come. Let the one who hears say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. And let the one who wishes take the free gift of the water of life. Jesus invites you to come to him, to receive from him the gift of life. It's a free gift. And this gift of life is one that you can look forward to for eternity, but it's also one that starts right now. As you receive God's forgiveness, as you get to experience his presence, as he washes away the guilt and shame, as he empowers you and equips you and strengthens you. So you get to know him with you in every moment. So I want to finish with giving you an opportunity to come and receive from Jesus. And when Jesus invites you to come, I think this is really important. Sometimes we can think of it, and it's like, when you go to, this is probably an awful example to use in this moment, but you imagine when the children kind of go to Santa's grotto, and, and they go and they receive a gift, and then they go away again. Complete stranger they never see, but they get the gift. Jesus isn't inviting you to come and to take a gift from him and take it away and then just get on with life and do what you like. When Jesus invites you to come, it's the sense of a continuous coming, because it's a continuous need. It's a continuous coming to come to Jesus, to receive from him, to keep coming to him. And as we keep coming to someone, to keep coming means we've got to follow, because as he moves, we've got to move to where he is. We've got to let him set our direction, because it's in him that we find life. And so this invitation, because it's a continuous coming, is an invitation for every single one of us. And what we come to him and where we're coming from might be different, because we're all in different places. But the one that we're coming to is the same. And it might be that we come to him to receive forgiveness and to receive that kind of relationship with him for the first time, and to recognize, Jesus, I want to come to you because there's something of this hope that I don't have and I need. Or it might be that you want to come to him as a way of saying, Jesus, would you open my eyes? Open my eyes to see something more of heaven. Open my eyes to see something more of the hope that I have in you, that in a way that frees me. In a way that frees me to be able to live more for you today. Because I know that the best is yet to come. You know what it is that you need from Jesus, and whatever it is, his invitation to you is come. If you're thirsty, if you know you need, come. And I will give you the free gift of the water of life. I will satisfy you in a way that nothing else can. So that's something you want to respond to today. If you want to respond to Jesus' invitation to come, I'm just going to invite you just to maybe just open your hands out in front of you, just as that way of saying, Jesus, I'm ready to receive your gift. I'm not going to ask you to do anything more than that. I'm just going to pray for you and invite the Holy Spirit to come and just to meet with you where you are. Jesus, I want to thank you that you know every single person in this room, that each person here is precious to you, that you love them dearly, and that your invitation is always come, that your arms are always open. And before anything else, I just pray that you would move by your Spirit right now just to silence any lies in people's hearts or minds that this isn't for them. Just to break off any sense of not being enough, any sense of guilt, any sense of where the enemy would look to try and hold people off. We just ask that you would silence those right now. That every person here would know that your arms are open to them, that you love them and that you are for them. God, you know the needs of each person here. Lord, for those who are here and maybe don't know you, have not been walking with you, I just pray that you would come and meet with them right now. Lord, that they would know that your arms are open, and that as they come to you, as they look to give their lives to you, say, Jesus, I want to follow you and keep coming to you every day, that in you they would find the gift of the water of life that washes them clean, and makes them new. That gives them that new start and beginning, but also that refreshes and brings that sense of kind of life that they so desperately need. And God, for every one of us, myself included, I just cry out, Lord, would you open our eyes? Lord, would you wash it with your water in a way that just kind of washes away the distractions, I just have the sense of the building up of of dirt from the things of this world, not necessarily all bad things, but just things that are getting in the way of our vision. And Lord, I just pray that you would wash through with your water right now in a way that cleanses us and washes us clean where we've been caught up and kind of consumed by the things of this life, by our work and by our responsibilities and by the things that we enjoy and the hobbies we do and all the rest of it. Lord, that you would just wash it all away. Lord, that we would be able to, not that it would be gone, but that we would be able to see it rightly. That we'll be able to see the sense of putting this life right now in the perspective of eternity, to be able to see the hope we have in you, all that's ahead of us, the joy, the wonder, the beauty of heaven, the wonder of getting to be with you face to face, the wonder of being made new inside, the wonder of the purpose that we will have, and that we would see the things that we face now in light of that, in a way that means that they're ordered rightly, that we give our time to them rightly, we prioritize things rightly, in a way that frees us from worry and that fear of missing out, in a way that frees us from striving and chasing after things we don't need to, in a way that frees us to be bold and courageous and to share and to speak and to take action, because we see things as you see them. So Lord, would you just move by your Spirit upon us, your people, that we would be known as, that we would be able to have things written of us like Lewis wrote of people in the past, that because we had such a vision of heaven, we made such an impact on earth. Lord, we look to you. We want to thank you for the hope that we have. We want to thank you for the free gift that it is. We want to thank you for your mercy in our lives that makes it possible. We're so grateful. Would you help us never lose sight of all that you have for us? In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thanks.